you already at a time of year is back. PPL live, it's time to crown another champ. 2023 to 24, it's going down. Lots of competition, only one can wear the crown. Hope that you already at a time of year is back. PPL live, it's time to crown another champ. 2023 to 24, it's going down. Lots of competition, only one can wear the crown. Squad underestimated, finally won his first shit. They put the work and made some trades, yeah, that was good shit. But don't get comfortable, the league is filled with champions. Don't sleep on your opponent, better stay away from ambience. We back again, another year of PPL. Back to talk smack again, we treat it like the NFL. Time to stack your rosters up and build your best to never fail. By week 6 we take advantage, if you're weak cause we could tell. You better bring your A game, be solid like an A-frame. A new year but the same thing, you better be ready to bang bang. It's showtime, PPL live is ready to go. Gino the Jet will let you know it won't be easy, that's for sure. When the pass smacking bones crack, yeah, you gotta love that. Glad it's back, PPL, let's run it back. Live shows, speak the facts, analyze and talk the trash. Play the game to win the cash, never try to end the blast. Hope that you already at a time of year is back. PPL live, it's time to crown another champ. 2023 to 24, it's going down. Lots of competition, only one can wear the crown. Hope that you already at a time of year is back. PPL live, it's time to crown another champ. 2023 to 24, it's going down. Lots of competition, only one can wear the crown. PPL live.
Just like that, it was over. The regular season is at its climax. PPL Live Week 14 is upon you. You are listening to Gino the Gent here with my man Ulysses S. Hey, give him what's up, Ulysses.
What's going on, PPL? We
here. We ready to go. We ready to end the season and get you guys all set up for those playoffs. But before we do that, you know we got to take a look back at Week 13. Starting with the Argonauts winning their 9th Alpha Conference title right on schedule, 107 to Trey Fitty's 55. Squad underestimated, high score of the year, 204 to ATG's 93, leaving no doubt going away, clinching that playoff spot. The Baby Gas team, upset of the year, caught only for the ball slipping, 115 to 111. The United Players, the Destroyers, get it done. Makes idiots of us all. 136 to the Twins, 123. And the Gaff Attack, 179 to 111. Winning a record 7th Omega Conference title. All right, man, what do you think of this one, man? The Gaff winning Omega, the Argonauts winning Alpha. We got our 1 and 2 seeds. Our bye weeks are set. What did you think of this week in the PPL, Ulysses?
Couldn't have asked for a better week of action in the PPL. Again, getting conference locks this late, having this many teams playoff eligible in the final week, a lot on the table, and I'm excited to see what some of these teams have to say. We're going to get some bark, or we're going to get some guys laying down.
Very, very interesting. You know it's very interesting, but I want to get into something that's just as interesting. Let's get into the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know what time it is, brother. Let me hear it. Good, bad, and ugly for Week 13. Pivotal week in the PPL. It was a lot of good, it was a lot of bad, and it was a lot of ugly. Let's hear it, Ulysses.
Sure was. And let's start with all things that are good, and it's got to be the squad.
Okay.
I mean, you said it. Season high, 204.
Very impressive.
What this team's doing right now, I mean, he's looking real smart on the waivers, getting Dak on the squad.
Yeah.
Gift wrapped. The Sam Laporta pickup, making him look real smart right now.
That was the best pickup of the year.
Yeah, I mean, this team had 6 guys go over 20 points, only one not get in double digits. Yeah. I mean, he got it literally everywhere. And as we've gone down the stretch, this team's won 4 in a row. They're the hottest team in the PPL right now. It's good to be squad underestimated. Oh, no doubt, man. And they've scored over 170 the last 3 weeks. I mean, that is ridiculous. Argonaut-esque
might I say. Squad underestimated has been highly, highly impressive. What's your bad?
My bad is, I mean, again, might be a controversial bad, but it's Patty's Twins. This team, I think, again, overcoming a lot of adversity from injuries and just kind of how this season has unfolded. But losers of 2 in a row, they win either of these last 2 matchups, they clinch a playoff spot, and they don't. And again, you look at how this unfolded. It was pretty much Brock Purdy. You did get some Taysom Hill, Cortland Sutton, but I mean your studs, Eckler, Keenan Allen, just really didn't show up.
No shows.
And even with that big Niners win, he's kind of muted because he didn't start that Eagles coach. Good on him. That -13 would have been an L here, basically eliminating them from contention. Instead, these two teams flip, and the UP now controls their own destiny.
Right.
It was a bad week for the Twins. They ceded some ground.
Definitely, man, definitely. And what's your ugly? Let's hear it.
Man, the ugly, you said it. Upset of the year. I mean, Gino, you was asking last week, why isn't this your lock of the week? I mean, I don't understand what happened here. When you look at this, BGT still has not logged in. Joe Burrow's not in. Josh Jacobs not in. Justin Tucker's not in. This team, again, they live and die with the Chiefs. If the Chiefs are winning, only for the boss is winning. If the Chiefs are losing, only for the boss is losing. That happens again this week. Why this got ugly is a big factor down the stretch. Has been Tank Dell. Okay. And his loss, you're not going to get that production anywhere else on this team.
Yeah, that's tough.
I mean, just because the quarterback play. I mean, C.J. Stroud is built for this, and he's made him have some questions about keepers because Tank Dell should probably be up there for consideration.
Exactly.
Depending on how he comes back, but it was just ugly all around here. The Browns could not stop the Rams. They made them look real good, and yeah, it was failure to launch by Kansas City. And so it was an ugly week. Hopefully they can get it back. But look, man, not only did you lose to the BGT, you lost any chance of the Alpha Conference.
Lost the first round bye, yeah.
Lost the first round bye and seeded playoff seeding to squad right now. They're the third best team in the Alpha, so this one stung for sure.
Yeah.
And again, you can't get it back. And again, going against the Gaff, who has put up more points than anybody by a fair clip, so it doesn't get any easier for the boss.
No, definitely, man, definitely. Seeding the Alpha Conference title. Back to the Argonauts after winning it last year. Really, I thought they were going to win it this year again. We're on that 6-game winning streak. Things just kind of devolved for the boss down the stretch this year. Yeah, things got pretty ugly, especially considering this loss to the Baby Gas team. I mean, they beat them basically a short 3 guys, so it was a bad week, or an ugly week only for the boss. I'm going to the other side of that, though. I'm going to go with my good, and my good I'm actually going to go co-good here. I don't normally do this, but, when it's appropriate, it's got to be done. Congratulations to the Gaff Attack and the Argonauts on winning the Alpha and Omega Conference titles. Both teams clinching first-round byes in the PPL playoffs, meaning they will be in the Final Four round. They're locked, stocked, and ready to go. Got to give both teams credit. They both got here in completely different ways. The Gaff Attack got here with overwhelming scoring, high scoring, which is needed in that Omega Conference. The Argonauts got here in kind of a scrappy way. They just found a way to win a lot of matchups, get by. I mean, some would call it luck, but I mean, you can't call it luck. This team wins year in and year out. So you got to give them credit for that. The Argonauts getting healthy at the end of the year is something that is really good for them. And the Gaff Attack's guys just continuing to be dominant players down the stretch is good for them. Squad was your good and for very good reason. They're the hottest scoring team in the PPL going into the playoffs. But the Gaff Attack and the Argonauts have proven to be the most consistent winning teams going into the playoffs. So it was a good year for both those teams. And they're my good for this week because they both clinched their conferences and basically left no doubt on this week who the best teams in the conferences were. My bad, man, and I got to go here because I felt like this team lost control of their own destiny. and that's got to be the Skulls, man. I really thought that they had a chance of winning that Omega Conference Championship. Had a great conference record when we had looked back at it. Really took care of their Omega division until it mattered the most. This was the game that they really needed. And, I mean, Jamar Chase showed up for them. Dogged out on that Monday Night Football game. Chuba Hubbard, who we actually laughed at that start, was actually the second most productive guy. Josh Allen's absence killed the Skulls, and it kind of sucks that Buys played that big of a role, but that takes nothing away from what the Gaff Attack did. But just a bad week for the Skulls, and it's because Josh Allen was missing. They have one more chance at redemption. They still control their own destiny. They can lock up that 5 seed with a win over the Argonauts, and they get Josh Allen back, so that is why it's only bad. And my ugly man. And I gotta go here because this team is in complete control of their own destiny. It kind of the reversals of roles kind of flip with the Skulls, and that's Patty's Twins. For a while, I felt like the Twins were in control of being able to take care of this. They made the Brock Purdy trade in a very timely way, but other parts of the team that I think that they thought were a given that they could rely upon has fallen short for them, and it might be the end for them this year. I mean, they're going to need to win, and they're going to need a little bit of help to actually get into the playoffs. Now, can they get that help? Certainly, but they still need the help nonetheless. Other than Brock Purdy and that Niners coach, there was nothing else that the Twins really had to hold on to in this matchup. And they still scored 123. But at the end of the day, it's been something that they've been able to do late in the season. They have not gotten those wins. And this is a second loss in a row on the back end of the schedule in a game that they now need against a team that they should beat, but you never know. Just look at what happened with the BGT. But that being said, as I always like to tell you guys, what's past is prologue. We moving on and up, and we got to start in the PPL play or the play-in pretty much for a lot of these teams as we start in week 14, and we go into our first matchup of the week in a big game. We got one for Appease the Gods as they go against the Baby Gas team. Outside looking in, but still a shot for both these teams. We got last place in Omega going against 4th place in Alpha. The Baby Gas team who pulled the huge upset last week, going against Appease the Gods, who needs a miracle this week. All right, man, BGT, HGG, what you think of this one?
Yeah, I mean, of all the matchups this week, this has, the longest of shots. ATG is absolutely on life support. BGT pulling off the biggest upset of the season. And when I look at this, you would think without a QB in the lineup, ATG would be able to walk away with this. I don't think it's easy at all. When I look at some of these matchups, I think that they absolutely have a lot going for them. About the only matchup I think I don't like, Deontay Johnson against New England. I think with Mitch Trubisky, Freiermuth probably has a better shot. We'll see. I think that they'll game plan for it, but again, any New England game's ugly. You probably don't want to touch nothing about it. And then Adam Thielen and company, we'll see what happens there. Otherwise, I like all these matchups. I think Evan Ingram will have to be involved. Mike Evans is a beast. I like the Dolphins D against Tennessee, and I like the Texans coach at the Jets. Other side, ATG's gonna be needing to scrap for his life here. Happy to get Lamar back, but again, definitely missing Mark Andrews. Christian Kirk hit the injury bug. Brian Robinson's on the bye. So he's got all the talent here to pull this off, but again, I think he's going to win this one barely and be on life support and going to need some help. I've got Appease the Gods going 119 to the Baby Gas team's 114.
All right, man. I'm going to go with ATG here, man. I'm looking at this matchup. It's really, Baby Gas team last week, I think that was kind of how it went down. Now, the rest of their lineup does look pretty competent when we look at it now. You are right about that. But I'm looking at a Appease the Gods team that is the higher scoring team throughout the season, who will have a quarterback in the lineup, that's for sure. I don't think BGT touches this lineup. I like Bijan against Tampa Bay, and I love David Montgomery against his old team at Chicago. I'm looking at Lamar Jackson against that Rams team. Lamar's, I mean, I guess we're saying this every week now that he's due for a big game, and they just haven't been coming. But, I mean, I remember a Monday night game a few years ago against the Rams where he basically won the league MVP against the Rams. A lot of the guys aren't there anymore. But this might be a matchup that I think that he can exploit for his team. Raheem Mostert is a guy that I think has to stay in ATG's lineup just because Miami gets so many opportunities to score that Raheem may get 1 or 2 chances at plunging into that end zone. Love that Kansas City Chiefs defense going up against Buffalo. Now, some will say, why would you love that? It's because Josh Allen is prone to mistakes. The game is in Kansas City, and I think Kansas City can get a few turnovers in that game, and I think they're going to need to actually win that football game. Packers coach against the Giants should be a lock. Now, on BGT side, I mean, Deontay Johnson against New England. New England's going to find a way to neutralize that passing game, especially with Mitch Trubisky in the lineup. That game's going to be very, very defensive. I do like Joe Mixon. I mean, he was a hero for the BGT last week. Mike Evans, also another guy who has a great matchup. It's a lot here to like for the BGT. Now, if they were to somehow miraculously go get a quarterback and change it around, I could say, hey, maybe they are trying to make a push for that last playoff spot. But I just don't see it here. I think a piece of the gods finds a way to get this done, gets themselves in position to possibly make a play for that last playoff spot. I got a piece of the gods getting this matchup 121 to the BGT's 102. And moving on to our next matchup, we go into a matchup that is of huge implication for one team, a rematch of last year's wild card weekend and a rematch of an earlier season matchup. A little rivalry might be developing here. We got the Skulls of Omega taking on the Argonauts of Alpha. All right, man, big one here. The Skulls coming into this one, needing to once again find a way to conquer the Argonaut Empire. They found a way to do it in last year's playoffs. The Argonauts would love nothing more than to return the favor and to end the Skulls season. What do you think of this one, man? Argonaut Skulls.
Yeah, and I mean, this one, I think we see who's just being favored by the gods here.
Okay.
Justin Jefferson coming back into the lineup for the Argos. And the Skulls losing Ramondre, somebody that they absolutely needed at this point in the season.
Okay.
And I think that that's going to be telltale for this matchup. You mentioned it. Josh Allen's playing at Kansas City. I expect a bounce-back game for them there. Again, Tampa Bay against Atlanta, that game could go in a lot of ways, but, you know, K-Dot has not been doing it, did not have a good game last week.
Right.
Chuba Hubbard and company, I'm not so sure against New Orleans, especially if Jameis is going to be at the helm. Jamar Chase should be just fine, though. Brown looked highly competent.
Oh, very competent.
And against Indianapolis, I see that being a high-scoring game.
Right.
I'd start your Colts and Bengals, everybody.
Yeah.
I like, again, we've been talking about it, I think Zay Flowers factors here, but Steelers coach, I mean, to me, that's a toss-up matchup. I think he could find something safer than that.
Okay.
I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't think it's going to be high scoring at all and defensive. I think he could, again, just find a better option. The Argos, though, are I think are ready to go. I mean, Justin Herbert has shown himself to be highly capable. Shane is back. Justin Jefferson, Devontae. I think that he's got the right play here. And again, going away from a Dallas head coach, and I think going with a much easier call with the Ravens coach, I think that the Argos make things really interesting here. And again, put the Skulls on ice. And I think that they win this matchup in leave no doubt fashion. I've got the Argonauts going 148 to the Skulls 130.
Okay. I'm gonna go the other way here, man. I've wrote the Skulls all the way to this point, man, and they're in position to make the playoffs. And this is an Argonaut team that barely beat them by 1 point earlier in the season. Was eliminated by the Skulls in the PPL playoffs last year. So the Skulls have reason to have confidence in this matchup. I'm looking at Josh Allen, man. This is probably one of his best situations to actually go finally beat the Chiefs. This is a team that he has a monkey on his back against, a team that he really wants to beat. And with the way their offense is struggling, Josh can pull a couple of touchdowns out, and I think that he's going to be able to do so even on the road against a tough Kansas City defense. I really like Josh Allen in that matchup, and he's shown to be an Argonaut killer over the last couple of years. I'm looking at Chuba Hubbard, man. We laughed at this start last week. He had 23 points. And I think that he's a guy that they're going to continue to try to rely upon, especially with the struggles that Bryce Young has been having this year. It's been pretty astounding to actually watch. We saw Jamar Chase, man. It don't matter who's at QB. Looks like he's going to get his. Chris Olave is another guy. With Jameis Winston in the lineup, I actually like Olave even more. I like Rashad White and Chad Otten against that Atlanta defense. Zay Flower, we talked about him. He's a guy that can really make things happen. Saints D against Carolina, we just talked about Bryce's struggles. Steelers coach, I mean, look, it's kind of a toss-up, but it's one I think the Steelers should probably win, especially at home on a Thursday night on a short week against Bradley Zappi, man. On the Argonaut side, I see the potential you're talking about for a strong performance, but let's be real about the Argonauts. They've been one of the most inconsistent teams in the PPL. Despite having the #1 seed in the top record, they found ways to win, but it's not because of their scoring. They've been able to find gamesmanship in matchups. Good coach calls, good defensive calls have really been the difference. It's not been consistent play from their skill guys. Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson are playing with backup quarterbacks. They're going double tight end here. Dallas is playing that Philadelphia offense. It's just not a matchup I really like for the Argonauts. I think the Skulls find a way to clinch one of those playoff spots and get it done. I got the Skulls, who don't need any help. All they need to do is win, and I got them winning this matchup. I got the Skulls getting this one, 136 to the Argonauts, 131. And moving on to our next matchup, we go into another interconference matchup. We're all interconference matchups this week, but a big one for a very proud franchise. They are totally at the whims of other teams, have lost control of their destinies, but they do got control of this matchup. We got I Need About Trey Fitty taking on Patty's Twins. All right, man, big one here. Trey Fitty, Patty's Twins, big time matchup. The Twins come in needing a win. Trey Fitty has been in tank mode. I mean, the lock of the week last week. What do you think this week? Trey Fitty Twins.
Yeah, and I'm going to keep riding it. I think I've got my lock of the week being Patty's Twins this week.
Okay.
And again, it just comes down to, I mean, I think that I Need About Trey Fitty would have to put forward a better effort. He's going to need to get a coach in there. Again, I'm not sure if a waiver wire too isn't in order. If he wanted to make a serious push, I think he'd need to make some lineup adjustments. When I look at the other side, Brock Purdy should have a very good game against Seattle. And again, how they handled the Eagles, that coach is looking pretty good as well. I love the Steelers D in that New England game.
Yeah.
Again, I think that's going to be a highly defensive game. And I just like her guys to bounce back. I mean, this was my bad losers of 2 in a row.
Yeah.
I think that they need to get right, and I think that they do enough here to get back into the playoff seeding. And I think it's led by Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen playing a divisional opponent in Denver. I think that game's going to be really competitive, and I think we're going to see it come out. And I think the Twins, again, I've got them as my lock of the week. I think that they put up in a good line this week, a 127 to I Need About Trey Fitty's 96.
Man, I'm almost feeling like this is another situation like Only for the Boss last week where Trey Fitty might win this matchup by accident. All right, so I'm looking at this matchup, man. Trey Fitty basically gave the finger to squad underestimated last week with that Commanders coach pickup. Did you notice that? The more I looked at it, the more I thought about it, I thought he was just really telling squad underestimated, F you, I'm going to do what I want with my team. I paid my money. I do things my way. You run things the way you see fit, which I can almost respect. Or not almost respect, which I do.
And I mean, let's be real. I mean, I wouldn't be too boisterous if I was squad. I mean, he's really relied on, I need about Trey Fitty to build this squad. And so, again, I wouldn't be so ingracious to all the good bidding, especially, I mean, looking even at where Dak Prescott is. I mean, he was on the lineup for Trey Fitty earlier in the season.
Damn, Ulysses, when you put it that way. Anyway, I think I'm going to pick Trey Fitty in this matchup, man. I think C.J. Stroud's going to be just fine at New York. I do like Breece Hall, even though he is questionable. Jalen Waddle on Monday night ain't a bad play, and Travis Etienne looked pretty damn good on Monday Night Football. I like that Ravens D actually coming back into the lineup, and they're going to be positive points. They're not going to be negative points. I don't think Commanders coach on a bye matters. On the other end, I do like the Twins, but their matchups to me aren't great. Let's think about it, man. That Denver defense has been one of the strengths of their team most of the season. Maybe not that Miami game, but most of the year, that Denver defense is what's kept games close, and Russ has been able to get a couple of TDs to get wins. I expect that to continue against the Chargers, who aren't showing that 30-plus point potential we thought they were going to have at the beginning of the season. I like the Taysom Hill play. It's a home game. He plays much better in the Superdome than he does on the road. Brock Purdy has looked great, but this isn't a game that they're going to need Brock Purdy to come out. See, that Eagles game was a game they wanted to show out. They wanted to put up big points. Seattle, they're just going to try to win that game. The last time they played Seattle, he only had 11 points. So it's not that they need much from Brock to even blow out the Seahawks. I like that Steelers D. I'm not sure about Cortland Sutton. And I think Ezekiel Elliott needs to get into that lineup. It was a good waiver wire pickup. And I think it's one that the Twins need to take advantage of. But in the end, I see something weird happening in this matchup. Trey Fitty, I mean, it doesn't matter. They got the number 1 pick locked up. It don't matter if they win this one. And I think that they find a way, in a weird way, to win this matchup. The Twins are going to try their best. But it's going to be probably the football gods going against them. Just even looking at how this lineup looks. I got Trey Fitty winning this matchup 108 to the Twins 106. And moving on to our next matchup, we go into the matchup that would have been the prestige matchup of the week, but it's just not enough on the line. Both of these teams are in. We know they're in. This could be a preview of Final Four weekend, though, man. We got a big one only for the boss, taking on the Gaff Attack. All right, Alpha and Omega once again clashing. Alpha's boss, Omega's Gaff. Man, what do you think of this one? The Gaff sitting pretty in that with that Omega Conference title, waiting for their Final Four clash, but they got one more in the regular season before that all goes down. What do you think of this one, Gaff and boss?
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising that this is the matchup with probably the least on the line, right?
Right.
And again, I got to give commend Gaff with the way that he clinched that division win against somebody who was going for it. He left no doubt in that matchup, and you got to really just get excited when that happens. Again, rolling into a boss that I think is going to be dealing with some displacement aggression issues after what happened with the BGT last week. And I like what their odds are. And I'm looking at Patrick Mahomes and company against Buffalo at home. I'm expecting a bounce-back week. I think Kelsey's going to be critical to that. That's a coach win. Browns D, I'm not so sure at this point.
C.J. Beathard's starting, man. Don't even say that. C.J. Beathard's not. It's not going to be Trevor.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I think that, if there's one area that I wouldn't be as confident, it'd probably be there.
Okay.
If Christian Watson's healthy, you have to play him. Obviously, you're playing Debo, you're playing Stephon. So, I mean, things can crack all over the place here. When I look at the other side, I mean, Jalen Hurts and company got exposed last week.
Exposure is what you're talking about.
Yeah, we're talking about exposure, and they're going to Dallas, who is not playing right now.
Okay,
and I expect that if it gets to be the kind of game that I expect it to be, I could see Jalen making a few mistakes. This Dallas defense is ball hawking right now. They're getting after guys, and again, I could see that impacting AJ's production. CD's a lock. Kenneth Walker is coming back, but he's banged up, and he's playing in San Francisco, and so I mean he's got some adversity ahead of him. And again, I think Jameer's good. TJ Hawkinson's good. Metcalf, I mean, he should have an okay game. He ain't going to reproduce what happened last week.
Right.
You know, the Lions should win. I think that this is going to be a highly competitive matchup, but I think only for the boss flexes here going into the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I've got them going 133 to the Gaff's 127.
All right, man. Yeah, and they beat up on the Gaff attack earlier in the regular season. So, I mean, that would be just more of the same. This one's an interesting matchup because it is the least consequential of the matchups, but it should be the funnest actually to watch as far as scoring goes. I'm looking at Kyron Williams, man. He's got a tough matchup against that Baltimore Ravens defense, but he's been highly productive, and I think that he's going to still be productive even in a minus matchup. Zach Moss I mean, we got excited for Zach Moss once we heard about the JT injury, but Zach Moss hasn't made us get excited about anything else pretty much since. Love to see Stephon Diggs back in that matchup, but how much of his damage can be counterproductive to the boss's intentions? We saw what Christian Watson did like that last week. This is just a very, very weird matchup to pick. But at the end of the day, I think that things are kind of turning the other way in the PPL. I see one team ascending in their scoring and one team starting to decline. That Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chiefs Coast combination just hasn't been what it's normally been in years past. It's not the lock that I've essentially made it in my head the last couple of years. Debo was the brightest spot here. Getting Stephon Diggs back helps, but losing Tank Dell hurts. On the Gaff side, Jalen Hurts has been highly impressive. I don't think Dallas, to me, I mean, they gave up mad points against that Seattle offense last week. Jalen Hurts is better than Geno Smith, and I think the Eagles' offense is a little better than the Seahawks' offense. So I think the Eagles aren't going to have any issues moving the football. Don't understand the Kenneth Walker start. Probably would go somewhere else there. But other than that, I think the Gaff Attacks lineup looks lock, stocked, and ready for the playoffs. And I think that they have a nice little exhibition before that starts. I got the Gaff Attack actually getting this matchup. 134 to only for the bosses 127. And moving on to our prestige matchup of the week. This one was the most consequential. None of them really were that big, but this one was probably the biggest of them all. And what better way to do it? We got the defending Pantheon Cup champs, Squad Underestimated, taking on last year's Omega Conference champs, the United Players, the Destroyers, in a rematch of last year's Final Four, man. All right, big one here. United Players win. They're in. Squad wins. They maintain that 3 seed, meaning that they don't have to worry about playing the 1 seed, but that would put them in conflict with the Gaff Attack potentially in the second round if they were to win Wild Card Weekend. A lot to really decipher in this one, man. What do you think? We got the United Players who need no help going up against Squad Underestimated, who can clinch the 3 seed.
Yeah, and I was impressed with what both of these teams did last week.
Yeah, highly.
UP, again, clawing back into playoff position. Squad, I mean, really impressing with what this team can do. And I think it continues, frankly. And nobody has really shown me that they can stop that Dallas offense in any kind of consistent way. I mean, We've seen some anomaly kind of games, but so far so good. And again, I think that Philadelphia kind of played their hand last week, and I'm sure Dallas was watching.
Right.
Christian McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill really can't be stopped. Sam Laporta, again, you were talking, this was, if not, this is probably the pick of the draft as far as
Yeah, it was a great pickup.
just where the value that he got it at. And I think that the Dolphins win against Tennessee. He's really got a lot of checks on anything that the UP can really try to get going.
Okay.
With the UP having Tua, well, guess what? Tyreek's going to get any of that. And if Tua gets the win, he's getting that.
Right.
On the other side, he's got Derrick Henry, he's got DeAndre Hopkins, he's got a lot going on in that game, and he's got a lot going on with that Houston, New York game. Again, high scoring potential.
Yeah.
But when I look at the ceiling of this team, and I look at the ceiling of the team that's just put up 173 straight weeks,
yeah,
I think the squad handles the UP. I think he goes 140 to the UP's 116. And what that does is I think that allows Patty's Twins and Appease the Gods to sneak in to the playoffs in Omega.
Okay, so to clarify your scenario, Ulysses, you got the Argonauts beating the Skulls.
Correct.
And you've got Squad Underestimated defeating the United
UP.
Players.
Sure do.
You got the Twins winning. You got ATG winning, meaning that they take the last two playoff spots in the PPO playoffs, and they play the Boss, and they play the Squad Underestimated in the first round. So it'd be Squad, ATG, and then a rematch of Pantheon Cup 12 and 13 with the Twins and the Boss, which would be pretty blockbuster for us. We'd love that, right? I'm inclined to agree with you with this matchup, but I guess my scenario is a little bit different because I do have the Skulls clinching. I think I have the Skulls beating the Argonauts, so I have the Skulls getting the 5 seed, and I guess with the squad beating the United Players, that leaves the 6 seed for Patty's Twins. But in this matchup, I got Squad Underestimated, man. I got them in another Leave No Doubt performance. The matchups are there. You saw what McCaffrey and Ayuk did to Seattle too on Thanksgiving night. That matchup is just a rewind. Love Tyreek to close things out on Monday night against Tennessee. Dak he's playing for MVP at this point, and Mike McCarthy calling plays for a guy who's trying to win MVP. Remember, Mike McCarthy coached Aaron Rodgers to a league MVP. That's the kind of shit Mike McCarthy probably knows how to do. So I think that Dak is on the mission for that league MVP award, and that campaign is going to continue against one of the poorest pass defenses in pro football. Now, will the Eagles win that game? The Eagles probably could still win that game, but I think Dak will still get his. Love Brandon Aubrey on the back of Dak as that kicker. Niners D. Now, Seattle could come with a better game than they came with on Thanksgiving night, but Thanksgiving night they were at home and they played like that. So I think the Niners D's got that. On United player side, love Tua. Don't love Derrick Henry because of the injury. Like DeAndre Hopkins. Love Nico. But there's really not much else to like on this team that's not in the lineup. Can't trust him to try to get Eagles coach back up in there. Can't trust him to get Texans D in there. Can't trust him to get Isaiah Pacheco in there or Tyler Lockett. So what the hell am I even talking about? I got Squad Underestimated in a Leave No Doubt performance in a tune-up for their playoff wild card weekend matchup as the 3 seed again, the same position they were in last year when they won the Pantheon Cup. I got Squad Underestimated winning this one, 170 to the United Players 100. Alrighty, PPLers, thanks for another great week of PPL Live. I enjoyed it. I hope you did too. Clinching scenarios all over the place. Next week, we're going to have some special guests on PPL Live for our first playoff edition. But let's not look too far. We got week 14 to look forward to. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Good luck. Have a good weekend. And may the odds be ever in your favor.